video, so we'll just see what happens.
Okay.
I mean, if one of you starts undressing,
Here we go.
we'll probably stop this.
I do have pearl snaps, so
What is that?
it could happen.
Oh! Super quick.
Live. Hey, calm it down.
What? We're live?
Yeah.
Dude, what's
Millennial
up?
Experiment.
Millennial Experiment.
Hello.
Hello. This is our first Facebook Live. So hello to everybody. We're in Folsom, California. I'm Nolan.
Corey.
Go ahead, fellas.
My name's Will.
Ty.
And they are the Kingdom Coffee Roasters. Is that roaster? Like, is that the way to say it?
Roasters.
Roasters.
Yeah,
So we're in the shop, under construction. We are doing a live podcast.
I'll do some panning.
Yes.
This is our first live video, so forgive us if we all like move or fidget
Or flex.
or flex.
I've been prone to pick my nose on camera.
I don't know. Like, what do you do? You know, what do you say?
Look at that. These guys are building this place themselves, essentially. Waiting for inspectors here.
Amateur contracting.
Amateur contract.
We don't want to go pro, so that way we can go to the contractor. Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, it doesn't smell like coffee in here. I don't know if that's
Not
what you-
yet.
Not
You
yet.
might want to work on that. Like this.
Well,
It's a smell.
when we actually put coffee into the roaster,
That's probably good.
it helps out.
So just real quick, you know, I have known Ty for some years now, for a long time. I've seen him when he had long hair, but not having a long time with Will. I think we just met actually. You've seen it before.
You've
No, I've seen it before.
I think
We've run into each other.
We ran into each other, yeah.
You could date it back to 2006,
okay.
guaranteed. Yeah.
But how did you guys meet and ultimately get started on this wonderful idea?
I mean, for us, we met each other through a program called Master's Commission at Capital Christian Center, which at that point, it's now defunct, but at that point was a school
Bankrupt.
was a school for people that were looking to go into like full-time church ministry.
Right.
I remember meeting Ty as we were all moving into this terrible house down in Oak Park. That was like
Been to that house.
Yeah, guys.
Like basically, we called the guy's house. It should have been condemned a decade before we ever moved in, but it was cheap for the church to rent it, so we stayed there. And it was, as crummy as a place it was awesome to live together with everybody. But I remember him. He's coming up the stairs with like a snowboard while we're like filling out, moving into our rooms and all that.
Right.
My parents are there.
Right.
And my mom always tells me, she's like, I remember Ty because he had that snowboard. And I was just like, son, you are not going to have any time to snowboard while you're in ministry school. That's just, my mom, every time my mom asks me how Ty's doing, she tells me that story.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so
Hey, to be fair, I did snowboard twice that year, so.
Dang. So some time in Master's Commission. Fast forward.
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Was it 10 years?
10 plus 2006.
10 plus,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Time flies.
Yeah.
Okay, so Master's Commission, you guys bankrupt the place after you left. No longer there.
That's what happens when students don't pay, I guess.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So.
I'm going to just go on record and say I paid for every year in
Did you really?
like one of the 3 people that ever paid their tuition for
Yeah,
that school.
let me go on record and say I'm not one of those things.
I actually wanted to join Master's Commission. I accepted to go to Florida, but I was hoping some angel investor would just come down and just bless me with my full scholarship, but that never happened, so I didn't go. Instead, I found a girl.
Potato.
But so fast forward, coffee. What's the draw to coffee? Why?
I mean, for me, I got into coffee first when I first got out of Masters. Master's Commission for me ended in 2009. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had been working like a data entry job here in Sacramento, trying to figure it out, and kind of stayed till the end of the year. And then I just, wasn't working as far as who wants to do data entry as their first job right out of school when
Yeah.
you're just like you're not that there's anything wrong with data entry because it has to be done, but when you're like coming out of school to do one thing,
It's not data entry.
and it's not that you didn't go to school for data entry or whatever it is, it's always that little bit of a letdown. But I had a buddy from back home who we had started talking again. I got connected to him with my cousin, and he was trying to open like a non-profit community center in Oklahoma City. I'm from Oklahoma originally. And we had been talking about all this stuff, and I was kind of like, running ideas off each other, and he said, what would you think about coming out and being a part of this? It's like, awesome. I'm like, yeah, that sounds really cool. I'd love to do that. And he's like, we want to kind of do like a cafe as part of it, just so that, there's a little bit of actual income for what we're doing, and kind of gives us, that community experience on top of it. Like, I'd love for you to run it. And I was like, well, I don't know the first thing about running a cafe. And at that point, I didn't even like coffee. But I was like, okay, I could do that. So I moved back home, and I just searched for a job at a coffee shop so I could start learning how to run coffee shops, because I was planning on doing that. And the community center we were trying to do, things kind of fell through. It never worked out that way, but through getting a job in coffee, I realized that like everything I'd gone to school for in master's commission, thinking that I'm going to go into full-time ministry, I was just like, well, I get to connect with people the way that I've always wanted to connect with them through ministry.
You mean with coffee? Coffee does that.
Right.
Okay.
Like when I was working behind the bar, I was like, I'm getting to make all these same connections that I wanted to by being a minister, and getting the chance to get involved in people's lives. And at the same time, I'm working with my hands, and I'm bringing in money without having to rely on somebody being felt like they should give it to me type of scenario. And for me, it was just like a no-brainer. Like everything I ever thought I was looking for out of ministry, I've found by standing behind a coffee bar. So
Is that have connection to the name? I never asked this question.
We'll get to that. It's falling in place.
But so through that, I then realized, okay, I love that this community center is not going to work out. I love coffee. I mean, I love the cafe environment. Now I should probably start liking the thing that I'm serving.
Drink it?
I legitimately did not like coffee. Anyone that grows up on coffee, especially our generation, grew up on a lot of like Folgers, Maxwell House, pre-ground canned coffee. That when you open up that can, you're just like, smells so good. But when you put it in your cheap little coffee maker at home that can't get up to temperature, and
you don't know. I got one of these though.
Wow. But you know what I'm talking about. Everyone's had breakfast, lunch, dinner, whenever it is that they're drinking coffee in your family, it's probably been bad coffee.
That's true.
And so for me, because of that, when I did drink coffee growing up, it was because like my dad drank coffee, and if my dad did it, I wanted to do it. I'm kind of still that way. If my dad does it, I still kind of want to do it because there's nobody I respect more than my dad. But at the same time, I got to that point to where I was like, okay, I don't like this stuff, but I love what I do by serving it. So let's at least try to understand why other people like this stuff. And through that search, I remember I bought myself a mini French press, literally a 1-cup French press and a hand grinder. And I kept it in my backpack just in case I stumbled upon a new coffee I'd never seen before, so that I could brew it on the spot to try it.
Hipster, bro.
That's super hipster, dude.
But
did you by chance live in a van?
I have owned a couple of pretty awesome vans.
That's pretty cool.
But that was just that's where I was at. I wanted to I want to know this thing, and finally. I can remember that first cup of coffee that made that connection for me, and I can remember the guy who served it to me. I can probably recite the conversation pretty well to you if you give me a few minutes to think about it type thing, but it was just like a transformative moment for me. And then at that point I was all in, and then every time I'd come back to Sacramento to visit Ty and our other friends, I would have that hand grinder and or the new brewing device, an AeroPress or whatever it is. I would literally bring something different every time I visited, and these guys would be waiting, like, what is Will going to bring with him?
And he would regret it when there's like 10 people in a room, like, "Hey, Will, could you make me coffee?"
Oh,
and
my gosh.
he's like, "Mother."
No, but seriously, like, I'm hand grinding away. One of the brewers that I have, still one of my favorite brewers to this day, is called the AeroPress. When I first discovered it, basically an AeroPress, for anyone that doesn't know, it looks like a syringe. It's like a giant plastic syringe that you can literally only make 1 cup of coffee at a time. It's original, like it's got this awesome backstory and everything, but it makes this really awesome cup of coffee, and the grinder that I have fits perfectly inside of it. Wow. So as far as like traveling with it, it's the perfect combo. And I remember the first time I brought it with me, I'm making it, and I make one for Ty, I think, and then our buddy Aaron's like, "Oh, I want to try it." So like, okay, and the AeroPress, it's called the press for a reason because it uses air, and you're pressing it down. Literally, we had all of our friends over. I probably made 12 cups of coffee while everyone else is like having a good time. I'm in the kitchen like hand grinding my coffee, pouring the water, and me like squeezing it, still learning how to do all this. And I was like, and people are like, "Why didn't you bring a bigger one?" And I'm like, "Come on, guys."
So his love spawned your love, or was it just like you should drink the coffee?
I guess there was influence. I would say there was influence because I think Will opened up my eyes to all these possibilities of coffee, and definitely like brewing methods and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm Armenian. Those of you who don't know, look it up.
Check.
Did you?
That's a country. I just marked it so we can edit this part.
Right. So I
Picture of Armenia.
Picture of Armenian. This small amount, but I grew up with Turkish coffee.
Okay.
As long as I could remember my grandfather, and I could relate to Will. I love my grandfather and my dad, so it's like whatever they did. I remember as a kid, when they drank Turkish coffee bitter, no sugar and nothing added. And if you know, it's some pretty pungent stuff. But as a kid, I remember I would try it and be so disgusted, but I kept doing it. It was like a thrill for me or something. So coffee's always been around my life, but until I think he expanded his knowledge and all that stuff is kind of where my love of coffee came into place. But all this happened initially because of the love of people. Like my conversations, like I could tell you literally the worst conversation I've had and the best conversation I've ever had, and it was through the commonality of coffee.
Wow.
It was just through that interest, you know?
I mean, it's true nowadays too, especially with our generation. I mean, if you're going to go meet somewhere, whether it's whether you find them on Tinder, I think is one of them. Whether you find them on that, or you're supposed to go for an interview, or you're going for whatever. It's like coffee shop. Which coffee shop do you go to? Like, it does connect a lot of people.
Yeah, so I think just the love came through that, and then the love of coffee, like having a business, actually came from roasting for me. Like, because I found out more about it. It's like, when did Aaron and Amber leave? It was like
a couple of years ago.
So a couple years ago, we did a road trip because we wanted to. Will told us about these coffee shops from here, basically San Diego, and good friends of ours were going back home to Minnesota, and we're like, hey, let's do one big road trip before you guys go. You know, months before. So we take this road trip and. We're visiting all these awesome coffee shops and experiencing like a lot of cool things. And we're calling Will like, bro, send us more addresses. Let us know what to check out and everything. And something I started noticing was like coffee shops we entered. I've been to coffee shop with roasters, but never really paid attention to it. And as we're going through these coffee shops, I see more and more roasting and more roasters and everything. And then after that trip was done, came home, I basically just research after research, like found out as much as I could about it. And then next thing I know it, I'm like, I want to buy a roaster. And thanks to my brother, they're not cheap. So thanks to my brother, he lended me money to buy my first roaster and just experimented. No, we had a smaller one, so a lot smaller. A lot smaller than this, and just learning the chemistry behind it and all that stuff. But at that point, me purchasing that roaster, I knew I wanted to move towards this direction because I was going to college. I was a finance major. You know, I got my bachelor's in finance, and I thought I wanted to be a financial analyst, but I'm like, I don't know if I could do that.
Well, you bankrupt Master's Commission, so that would be a good place to go. It's not a good place, man.
And then I'm like, and I'm from a family, you know, like a little bit about my family. I'm from a family line of entrepreneurs, and the last thing that I thought I was or am is an entrepreneur. I still, till this day, don't consider myself that. And the last thing I wanted to do was open up my own business because I've seen the really good, I've seen the really bad in my family. That's what it's done to my family and everything. And so I'm like, dude, I have no problem working for the man, you know, for like 30 years.
Man.
But something, I mean, as you guys know, and you guys talked about on your podcast, most millennials don't want to wait 30 years to have fun.
No.
And I'm the same.
To do data entry or to work at an office in a cubicle. That's not
and don't blame them. I'm the same. I don't like my wife's parents and my parents, I don't want to put 30, 40 years into a job and then hope that I stay alive during that time.
And like, I think it's changed a lot too, because like my dad, he worked at his job, literally doing the same thing basically for I want to say 37 years. There was like a 1 year time frame where he like his company switched him to another position just to like work on this other stuff, and then he ended up back in that same position. So 37 years, same company even. Like, you know, there's some people that stay in the same field and like, you know, move up, but like now they're retired, and him and my mom are loving life and this opportunity to do what they can do off of retirement. But at the same time, you have to look at like everything for us. Retirements aren't the same, you know, like the 401ks don't exist like they used to, the pensions, you know, and so
you're least able. I mean, you're retiring at 65.
And I don't think that's necessarily an excuse to not stick it out and do something for that. But at the same time, you have that opportunity, and at least the millennial generation feels more empowered to do their own thing. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, time will still tell.
Right?
And so, you know, there are some really great things that have come out of it so far, and we'll see how everything plays out in the long run. But that opportunity to just like take a risk. Like I think
you guys have done it too. I mean, I didn't know this, but right when I got here, I asked if you guys are still working your day jobs. Like Nolan and I are doing podcasts and some other things with day jobs, but you guys went all in on this.
All in. Yep. Because it required us, we got to a point where this physical space required us to
be here
give our undivided attention, and not for a few hours. I'm talking about when we wake up till like, you know, late into the night and everything. And we're just at that stage. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that could relate. You'll know different stages will require as much. And we've talked about the sacrifices with family and, you know, him like moving cross country. Like he didn't even, from New York.
From New York.
Yeah, because he worked for coffee shops. He didn't even finish, but like, huge sacrifices with money, with the way we look at things and do things, man. It requires a lot, man. One of the best articles I read, this had something to do with coffee, but you could take this for anything. This article tried everything it can to like make you not open up a coffee shop. It was great. It was awesome because it gave you like the grit to like this is reality.
This is what it's going to take.
This is reality. You know, everybody has a dream, right? Every millennial, whoever you go to, everybody has a dream, but not everybody does it. And reality is, it's because of that risk and it's because of that grit. And I know you asked, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself. You asked earlier, what is it about us? Are Will and I special?
Are you special people because you can quit your job and start your passion?
The answer is no.
Right.
That's across the board. We're not special. You know, all we did is just do it.
Right.
And to be honest, it's not even that we're brave either, because quitting our jobs to cross our fingers that this is going to work out is literally like one of the most terrifying things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But also,
it's good.
Right? I mean, I feel like
and I don't think, you know, when I say terrifying, it sounds terrible, but for me, it's not a negative. Yeah. It's like it's just a lot to take in, but it's because I'm running after something. I remember few years back, one of the places I worked at, one of the guys, he sold insurance or something like that. He was always trying to convince me to buy insurance. And one time he asked me, just randomly out of nowhere, he was like, would you rather take a little risk and fail or go all the way and fail hard? And I was just like, I want to fail hard. And he was just like, why? And I go, because it means I put everything in. Like, I'm all in. And so if it doesn't work, at least I tried my hardest. But if I just tried something really small and it doesn't work, I can just be like, oh, no big deal. I wasn't counting on that anyway.
Next thing, yeah.
And so there's more at stake in this point, and for me, that's what drives me to want to get this place to the point where we are gonna either find out if we make it or not, but at least if we don't, like in the end, if we don't end up making it, I won't feel like a failure because I know that the both of us have done everything we can.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing
to get to that point.
So good.
Taking failures as learning opportunities or stepping stones to get to the next thing is important. And I think a lot of people, I don't think our generation is good at failing. We never really had to fall on our face as much as the previous. It seemed like as a previous generation. I mean, getting the trophies and doing everything's good and great. And so it's a big deal that you guys are able to.
And honestly, like millennials, I think it is the perfect age range. And I'm not putting down, like, I know there's, I know of like 50, 60-year-olds that like living out their dream. I'm not putting that down. And it's amazing. But I think where we are in our age range is like the most opportune time to do something big. Because if that because failure is always there, right?
Yeah.
But if it does happen, you have plenty of time. Our broker was like, dude, you have no idea how many people will literally, like 50, 60-year-olds will like come and put in all their savings for their dream, right? And it doesn't work out because they don't want to live with the regret, so they go all in. But he's like, these guys are like 60 years old, right? He's all like, do it now. He's telling me, he's like, Ty, do it now, man. Go all in. And he's all like, you will have plenty of time, And I'm not, and me saying that,
to recover, to make your way back.
Yeah, and
if
I'm
it
not,
doesn't work,
right. And I'm not saying go into everything blind and be like, oh yeah, these guys, said to just go all in and everything be great.
My job.
Honest to God, we like Will and I wouldn't be who we are, and I know he would agree with me if it wasn't for the people around our lives.
Sure.
Man, how many conversations I've had with you, like my buddy Dwayne, how many conversations we have together and like our other friends, we share everything. What we're going through, what we're feeling, like, is this smart, is this not? Like, we get info. We are the business owners, but you'd be surprised how much info we get, and like, we ask for help from other people, like, hey, what do you think of this idea? Right. What do you think of this? If it's not good, then,
Of course, if they don't like it, we're just like, well, we're going to do it anyway.
That's all right.
It's not yours.
But that's a good perspective. I mean, you were talking about doing this for people.
Yeah.
All the people that are around you right now are helping you, and then you get to the point where you have your business up and running, and you're still interacting with people. So this whole process is building connections, having relationships with people, and hearing that back and forth.
So talk about the name. We mentioned it. I want to.
So the name, so when I knew, like, this was even before I knew Will was, coming on board and everything. So when I was like, all right, I guess this is what I'm going to be doing. So name's everything, right? Some people could argue it's not, but I'm like, dude, I need a good name. I don't want to change a name down the line. I want something that will stick. So me and my buddy are like literally sitting around and thinking of the dumbest names like ever, and
give us a few. What are they?
I'll give you one that like, yes. This one wasn't bad. We found out later. But one was like Dirtbags Coffee. Oh, and we had slogans like, are you a dirtbag? Like, welcome.
Let me give you a little piece of info on this. So, no, I don't know the context because I wasn't the one sitting around thinking of these names.
Okay.
Like, they texted me one day and they're like, Dirtbags Coffee. And I was just like, you guys are idiots.
I was out of the way perspective.
A couple years later,
the drink's down.
Maybe not even a couple years. I was on the internet.
Check this out.
I was remembering stupid names that they had told me. I type in Dirtbags Coffee. It is a legitimate
Someone thought of it?
company now. I mean, it may not exist anymore. It was like
It's a business.
a while ago that I checked, but I just thought I took a screenshot and sent it to both of them. I'm just like, you guys missed out.
Too slow.
Missed
Wow.
out.
So I was like, dang it. But
I think that's a
So
college
that's a
mascot,
plug
actually.
right here, actually, for Dirtbags Coffee. Check them out.
So what happened was, and I was like, all right, man. I was like, I gotta be serious about this. So it was a few weeks at least, man. I'm just going through all these like names and all these things that it could potentially be called. And I remember vividly, like it was just I came home from work. And sometimes I have a routine. If I had a long day, I'll have a nice cigar and I'll just chill out in the patio, listen to music, and just kind of like let my mind go.
Right.
And I'm looking up just domains. I'm on the laptop, music's going, I have my cigar, and I'm just like looking up domain names and everything. And and something's like in me like, hey, if you're doing it for people, they're part of the kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered when I remembered that, I had remembered a few weeks ago. All I wanted to do, like in my prayer time, I'm like, my God, I want to do so much for your kingdom. I want to do so much for your kingdom. I don't know what that looks like. And I kept saying that, but until I said it that night, I was just like, wait a minute. And I literally, like, fast as I can, typed in a domain name, make sure it was
Someone's gonna take it.
Okay.
Put it
You
out
had
there.
that same exact moment, like 1,000 times. Like, Kingdom. Oh,
So literally got the name, and yeah, that was the whole story behind it.
Wow.
I knew it was like the right name, and it is the name, and it does show what we're about. You know, we're about people. We're so much about people that we care so much about our quality of coffee. You know, that's like a whole different animal that we take on. But
I mean, the craft thing I think is big.
It is.
Yeah. The craft beer, craft coffee. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day about somebody who made this tea out of like purple corn from another country. Yeah, but like just that niche stuff. And so it's fascinating. I mean, you're not going to walk into a place like this and get like an Americano that's bulk made or whatever. So explain like what's going to be the difference, and can I tell when I walk in here?
I know that you could probably explain.
I mean, I feel like coffee in general, no matter where you're going, you're getting the expression of what that company's head roaster or owner, whoever it is that's choosing, likes about coffee.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trends, just like in every industry with coffee, that lighter and lighter roasting has been a trend. And just because you roast dark, I don't think is a bad thing. I also don't think it's a bad thing if you roast light. I also don't think it's a good thing if you roast light or a good thing if you roast dark. I think what really matters is capturing the expression of what is good. And then being able to take that next step and be like, okay, now that we found good, what's great? And so for us, there's a lot of extremes in the coffee industry where we have big mega corporations that sell a lot darker roasted coffee. And then you have a lot of these tiny, small places that do these very, very light roasts. And so for a lot of people, you either get very, very light, bright, acidic, which a lot of times translates to sour.
It does. I was tasting
And
coffee recently. It was super sour.
Not to say that every light roasted coffee is sour.
Yeah.
But especially if you're still learning how to brew and all that, you might struggle with that. Versus the really dark roasted that's going to be, charry, burnt, smoky. There's a lot of good things you can get out of that too. And for Ty and I, because our focus is so much on people more so than it is on anything else, we want the quality of our coffee to reflect on what anybody can enjoy. And so there's a lot of really, really great, like Ty came out to visit me one time, him and our other friend came out to visit me while I was living in New York, and I took them to some really crazy shops that do some really interesting coffee that to a lot of people they're just like, this is coffee. Because they're just pushing the limits on what you can do with it. And it's a lot of fun to go taste those things and to try them out.
I mean, everybody has wine tasting and beer tasting.
Yeah,
right.
And
to be able to go try out different things, but they have their niches.
Yeah.
Like craft beer is getting huge, and I would say it's beyond like a niche thing now. Because so many, it's getting big enough to where it's growing past that. You still have like a good friend of ours is in the niche of craft beer. But for us, our expression of coffee is like, okay, what's the best part of a roast? And that's when we get the best sugar development. So like when you're roasting coffee being a seed comes from a plant. Basically, like we all learned growing up in school, plants grow with
fruits,
glucose, the sugar that's inside of them.
I didn't learn that. So.
I mean, you know, there's a lot of sugars inside of them that help them to grow.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not know that there was sugar inside a coffee bean. No, okay, go on.
But just in general, organic substances of being a plant, a seed from a plant is going to have some natural occurring sugars in it. And for us, as we're roasting these coffees, we're trying to find the place where that sugar caramelizes to its sweetest point.
Okay.
Because we love really light coffees. We don't hate dark coffees. Like if it's good, it's good. But we want anyone to be able to come into the door and be like, I didn't know coffee could be this sweet. I didn't even do anything to it. Because that's possible. It really is within the realm of possibility.
Put like 3 packets of
and then
Equal
and you know what? If people want to put 3 packets of Equal in our coffee,
it's gonna be on the counter.
no, we got no problem with that. You know,
Gotcha.
we're not. There's literally, we want you to come in and enjoy it the way you enjoy it. I used to give people the stink eye when I was first getting into it. You know? Oh my gosh, they've adulterated this thing so much, you know. But that's just, what's the point of that? Like, I want to sell someone what they're going to love. Because if I'm not giving them any judgment over something as silly as a cup of coffee, I'm going to be able to have a better connection with them in the long run.
Right.
Are they going to appreciate the fact that I'm giving them something great? I hope so.
Right.
But I hope they also appreciate the fact that that great thing, I'm allowing them to do whatever they want to with it, because I know that what I've created here doesn't matter. It's for them. It's for them to choose how they best want to enjoy it.
And the consistency, right? Like make sure it's consistent all the time. Like we've all had, and I know consistency in everything, not just coffee alone. It's pretty difficult to maintain and everything, but we do our best, like quality control, everything that goes out, that stays consistent, you know?
We throw away a lot of
Yeah, we do.
Wow.
We really do.
Dang.
Like we've been losing money just because we're trying to set a precedent, like this is what we're about. Because, not because like we're wanting to be on the map of coffee, like these guys in Folsom are doing crazy stuff, but it truly derives from our love of people. Like I genuinely value the people that will come into this place and people that we have been serving so much that I can't get lazy on this. That I can't be like, no, it's all right.
Because if we care about them, we want to make sure they know we care about them so much that nothing that we're doing here is going to be subpar. Because they are the people we're here to serve. Yes, they're paying our bills by coming in and buying a cup of coffee from us, but they're doing it because hopefully they know we're in this.
It's a two-way street, always every business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, coffee, people, you know, starting this company, profit. You know, where do you see the next fit, or after you get established, you're opening up. Tons of people are coming in, just loving people, making great coffee. Like, what's the big picture? Are you guys thinking that, or beyond that? What are the goals for Kingdom?
I haven't personally put a whole lot of thought into it because we're so focused on this right now. I do know that we have talked a little bit about the idea that we never plan on Kingdom becoming your next chain. When you get to a point where you're having to worry about filling vacancies in your schedule because you have so many people on staff, you're not getting that same opportunity to make sure everything else is at that level. And so for us, like, I honestly don't know that I could ever see this company, and don't quote me on this because who knows what could happen in the future. We could find ways, we might end up finding ways to keep that up and grow. But I can't ever really see us being beyond like 2 retail locations and maybe some like little pop-up somewhere,
Sure.
But in reality, like beyond that, I think would stretch us further than we need to go in order to make this thing great. And so like, I definitely didn't want to start a business to get rich.
Yeah.
I wanted to start a business so that I could work with people that I'm close to and that I know have the same goals in mind, and so that I could be connected with the people that I'm around and know that I'm going to survive.
Wow.
Like there's no like money.
Sure.
There's no money hunger for me. Like no one starts a business and is like, I hope I'm poor.
Yeah.
You know? I hope for the next 30 years that I'm struggling to put food on the table. You know, it's not that. Like,
Yeah.
hopefully this business can afford us a comfortable lifestyle for Ty to take care of his wife and child, and who knows how that's going to grow for them in the future, and whatever it ends up being for me. Like, I hope that our company can get to that place for us.
Sure.
But the ultimate goal is to be able to have a positive impact on the people that we come in contact with, and to have a place where we can come express ourselves that we love what we do every single day.
And this can be translated through any business.
Oh, any business.
Yeah.
Really,
Any
really.
service, product related business, anything. I mean, that's got to be a forefront goal.
Yeah.
So that's impressive.
Oh, I love that message. Sweet.
So do you have to come to Folsom to get coffee?
As of right
As
now,
of right now.
like,
And if you-
for
next
me
month.
to
It's
personally.
obviously not open yet, but next month or so, do we have to come? Can they find it elsewhere?
Oh,
Or
so
you
yeah,
guys have the same
so
quality?
we do have, we will, as of right now, we've brought our website, it's still up, but our coffee ordering on our website is down right now. It's not down like technical problems. We brought that down because in these next couple weeks, we're gonna be so focused on getting this place open that we don't wanna be so split that we can't offer that same level of quality because we don't have the time or the resources to do it. So until we actually open up shop, we are a little bit at a freeze.
Yeah.
Once we are open though, you can find us online. It's just kingdomcoffeeroasters.com. And we also have an Instagram, Kingdom Coffee Roasters. It's not much to look at right now, but we like to keep people at least like moderately informed of what's going on. We know that people love social media, and so we want to give them things that they can hold on to and feel like they're a part of that process, because this is as much for the people that are going to come in as it is for us. So
Nice.
I love it. Good way to end it.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts? No?
No.
All right, guys. Check it out. Oh, here. Let me do a little packaging plug for you.